The story begins under the title Millionaire CEO Sees Black Twins Sell Toy Car to Save Their Home. Everything changes forever on a cold morning in the busy city of Brookside. The sky was gray, the wind was sharp, and people rushed to work with their coats wrapped tight. Near the tall glass buildings, two thin black twins stood at the corner of Maple Street Park. Their names were Corey and Caleb Rivers, only 8 years old. Their shoes were torn, their jackets too small, and their hands red from the freezing wind. In Corey's hands sat a blue toy car, scratched but carefully cleaned, the last thing their father had ever given them before he disappeared years ago. The twins loved it more than anything they owned, but today they were trying to sell it. Corey held the car, close to his chest, as if his heart would break. Caleb kept whispering, "We must try, Corey. Mom needs her medicine." Their mother, Lena Rivers, had been sick for many weeks. She worked 2 jobs before she fell ill, but now she could not get out of bed. The pills she needed were too expensive. Their rent was late, and their fridge held only a carton of milk and 2 slices of bread. The boys had no way to save her, until Corey suggested selling the toy car. It hurt them deeply, but they loved their mom more than anything. People passed them without stopping. Some didn't look. Some smiled sadly but kept walking. Cars honked, buses roared, and the whole world seemed too busy to notice 2 scared children trying to save their mother. "Sir, do you want to buy our car?" Caleb asked a businessman. The man walked faster, pretending not to hear. Corey tried again with a woman in a red coat, who simply shook her head. Hours passed. Their toes numbed in their shoes. Their stomachs growled. Still, no one stopped. Corey wanted to cry, but he held the tears inside. "We must be brave," he told himself. "For Mom." Just then, a long black car, a luxury limousine, pulled up near the park. The door opened slowly, and out stepped Bennett Hale, a man known across the entire city. He was the CEO of Hale Global Industries, one of the richest men in the country. People called him the Ice King because he never smiled and never cared about anyone except business. His suits were expensive, his shoes polished like mirrors, and his face always serious. Rumors said he had no family, no friends, and no heart left after losing someone long ago. Bennett walked toward the park, looking at his phone, not paying attention to anything around him, until a tiny voice stopped him. "Sir, please will you buy our car?" Bennett lowered his phone and looked down. There he saw Corey and Caleb, their matching dark eyes filled with hope and fear. They reminded him of something, someone, from a time he tried to forget. Bennett frowned, confused by his own heartbeat. "How much?" he asked in a quiet voice. Corey looked at Caleb, unsure. Caleb whispered, "Say $5. But Corey shook his head. Their mom needed more. Still, he didn't know what price was fair. Finally, Corey said, "Whatever you can give. We just need to buy medicine for our mom. She's really sick." Bennett stared at the toy car. It was old and scratched. It was worth maybe $1. But the way Corey held it, with love and pain, told him this was no simple toy. Something inside Bennett cracked open, like a locked door suddenly shaking loose. Without thinking, he reached into his wallet and pulled out a stack of bills. He handed Corey $5,000. The boys gasped. Their eyes widened. Their hands trembled. They had never seen so much money in their lives. Sir, is this real?" Corey stuttered. "Yes," Bennett said. "I want the car." Corey swallowed hard, tears filling his eyes. He looked at Caleb, who nodded slowly. Then Corey placed the toy car, his most precious memory of his father, into Bennett's large hand. He did it gently, as if he were giving away a piece of his own heart. Bennett felt the weight of it, not the plastic, but the emotion. The boys whispered, "Thank you," again and again before running toward the pharmacy to buy medicine. Bennett watched them go with a strange ache in his chest. His driver stepped closer. "Sir, you're meeting," but Bennett lifted a hand. His eyes were still fixed on the twins. "Follow them," he said. "I want to see where they live." His driver blinked, surprised. Bennett Hale had never been curious about anything except profit. But something about those children, their bravery, their sadness, pulled him toward them. As the limousine slowly followed the boys through narrow streets and broken sidewalks, Bennett stared at the toy car resting in his palm. Why did it feel like a memory he had forgotten? Why did it make him feel alive and broken all at once? He didn't understand it, but something told him this moment mattered more than all the meetings he had ever attended. The limousine stopped outside an old apartment building with bricks falling off and windows patched with cardboard. Corey and Caleb hurried inside, clutching the medicine. Bennett stepped out of the car and looked at the building with disbelief. "These children live here," he whispered. He felt anger, not at the boys, but at the world that allowed children like them to suffer while people like him lived in mansions guarded by gates. He walked into the building, the smell of mold filling his nose. He climbed the stairs until he heard soft coughing from one of the rooms. He knocked gently. Corey opened the door. His eyes widened in shock. "It's you," he whispered. Behind him, Caleb looked nervous. Inside the dim apartment, their mother lay on an old mattress. She was pale, trembling, and barely awake. Bennett's heart twisted. She looked like someone who had been strong her whole life and finally had no strength left. "May I come in?" Bennett asked. The boys hesitated, then stepped aside. The apartment was small, with peeling paint, one broken chair, and a single blanket. Bennett had never seen such poverty with his own eyes. He slowly approached their mother. Who are you?" she whispered. "A friend," Bennett said softly. He didn't know why he said that, but it felt true. And this is where everything began to change. Inside the tiny apartment, Bennett Hale felt something he had not felt in many years. Human sadness, real and raw. The room was cold, lit only by a small lamp that flickered every few seconds. The air smelled of damp walls and worry. On the mattress lay Lena Rivers, the twins' mother. Her eyes were half open, her breathing slow and painful. She tried to lift her head when she saw Bennett, but she was too weak. "Boys, who is this man?" she whispered. Corey held her hand tightly. "He's the man who bought our car, Mom. He gave us money for your medicine." Caleb nodded, placing the pill bottle beside her. "We got the medicine, Mom. You'll feel better soon." But Bennett could tell the truth immediately. Medicine alone would not save her. Her skin was pale, her lips dry, and her pulse faint. She needed real treatment, not pills from a pharmacy. Bennett knelt beside her. For a moment, he forgot he was a CEO, forgot his expensive suit, forgot the world he came from. He was just a man looking at a suffering mother who loved her children. "You need a hospital," he said quietly. Lena shook her head weakly. "No, I can't pay. We barely have food." She coughed, and her whole body shook. Corey's eyes filled with tears. "Please don't die, Mom," he whispered. Caleb's voice broke as he added, "We'll work harder, Mom. We'll sell more things. Please just stay with us." Bennett felt his throat tighten. He had seen business people cry. He had seen money change lives. But this was different. This was love, fear, and family fighting against life itself. Slowly, he stood up. "I'm taking her to the hospital," he said firmly. Lena tried to protest, but she was too weak. Bennett lifted her gently in his arms. She weighed almost nothing. Corey grabbed her blanket and covered her shoulders. Caleb wiped his tears and followed. As they walked down the old stairway, neighbors peeked out of doors, shocked to see a billionaire carrying a sick woman. But Bennett didn't care about their whispers. His limousine sped through the city, and Bennett held Lena's hand the whole way. He felt her slipping in and out of consciousness. The twins sat beside him, holding onto each other tightly. Corey whispered prayers under his breath. Caleb kept saying, "Mom will be okay. Mom will be okay," over and over, as if trying to convince himself. When they reached the hospital, nurses rushed toward them the moment they saw Lena's condition. Bennett spoke with authority. "Get her a room now. She needs immediate care." No one argued. Nurses pulled Lena onto a stretcher and pushed her through the doors. But when the doctor asked for insurance information, Corey and Caleb froze. They had none. Their mother had none. They expected everything to fall apart. But Bennett stepped forward and handed over his personal platinum insurance card. "Put everything under my coverage," he said. The doctor stared. "Mr. Hale, this will be extremely expensive." Bennett replied, "I didn't ask the price. I asked you to save her." Hours passed. The twins sat beside him in the waiting room. The hospital was warm, bright, and busy. Volunteers walked by with carts of books. Nurses spoke softly as they moved around. But for Corey and Caleb, it felt like the whole world had paused. They leaned against each other, whispering stories about their mom, how she sang to them at night, how she made pancakes shaped like stars, how she always smiled even when she had nothing. Bennett listened quietly. He saw himself in them. When he was young, he had lived in a small home, too. His mother had raised him alone. But one night, she died from a sudden illness he could not afford to treat. Bennett had been angry for years, angry at poverty, angry at life. He swore he would become rich enough to never feel helpless again. And he did. But he had lost so much on the way, his warmth, his joy, his heart. Finally, the doctor came out. The twins jumped to their feet. "Is our mom okay?" Corey asked. The doctor spoke gently. "Your mother is very sick, but she arrived just in time. She needs strong treatment, rest, and proper care. She's stable for now." Corey broke into tears, hugging Caleb tightly. Bennett exhaled deeply, relief washing over him. And the doctor looked at him. "She will need months to recover. Months of treatment. She cannot work. She cannot live alone with 2 children." The twins stared up at Bennett. He stared back, swallowed, and said something he didn't expect. "They can stay with me." The twins' mouths opened in shock. With you?" Caleb whispered. Corey looked confused, scared, hopeful all at once. Bennett nodded. "Until your mother gets better." The doctor agreed it was the safest option. Within hours, Bennett had arranged everything. He brought the boys to his enormous mansion, bigger than anything they had ever imagined. The entrance alone had marble floors and giant paintings. The twins froze inside the doorway, unable to move. "Where do we sleep?" Corey asked softly. Bennett smiled for the first time in years. "Anywhere you want." He gave them a large, bright room with 2 soft beds, clean blankets, and windows that showed the entire city glowing at night. The boys ran to the beds, touching the pillows as if they were made of clouds. Caleb whispered, "Corey, is this a dream?" Corey whispered back, "I think we're alive, so maybe it's real." Bennett stood in the hallway, watching them carefully explore their new temporary home. Their small voices filled the mansion, a place that had been silent for far too long. Something warm flickered inside his chest. That night, the twins fell asleep holding hands. Bennett walked quietly through the halls, unable to rest. He returned to his study and picked up the blue toy car. He stared at it for a long time, remembering the little boy he used to be, poor, lonely, scared. He whispered to himself, "Maybe helping them helps me too." Outside their room, he made a promise in his heart. "I will protect these boys. I will save their mother. I will not fail them." He did not know yet how deeply those words would change his life. The days turned into weeks, and Bennett's mansion slowly changed from a cold palace into a warm home filled with the laughter of 2 energetic twins. Corey and Caleb settled into a routine. School in the morning, homework in the afternoon, and long walks in the garden after dinner. Bennett hired tutors to help them catch up with their classes and a chef who learned to make their favorite meals, buttered noodles and sweet cornbread. For the first time in years, the twins felt safe. They didn't have to worry about hunger or darkness or the sound of their mother coughing through the night. Every evening, Bennett drove them to the hospital to visit their mother. Lena slowly grew stronger. With proper treatment, good nutrition, and rest, her skin regained color, and her smile returned. She cried the first time she saw her boys wearing new jackets and shoes that fit. "You look so handsome," she whispered, holding their faces. Corey told her about their new beds, and Caleb told her about the big backyard with golden trees. Lena looked at Bennett with gratitude so deep it made him look away, embarrassed. "I don't know why you're helping us," she whispered once, "but thank you." Bennett replied quietly, "Everyone deserves a chance." But deep inside, he felt something more, something he had locked away for years. Every time he saw Corey laugh or Caleb ask for help with homework, he remembered the boy he used to be. And he remembered his mother, who would work herself to exhaustion just to keep him fed. He remembered holding her cold hand in the hospital after losing her. He remembered the pain that never left him. But now, for the first time, that pain felt like it was healing. One rainy evening, after dropping the twins off at their room, Bennett walked into his private study. Rain hit the windows hard, and thunder rolled in the distance. He picked up the blue toy car again. It had become a symbol of the boys, of their struggle, of his own journey. Suddenly, he heard footsteps behind him. It was Corey. "Mr. Bennett?" he asked softly. "Can I talk to you?" Bennett nodded. Corey sat beside him, his small feet not touching the floor. "I had a question," Corey said. "Why did you help us? You didn't know us." Bennett looked at the toy car. "When I was your age, I needed help too," he said slowly. But no one came. Corey listened quietly. "I promised myself that if I ever met someone who needed help the way I did, I wouldn't walk away." Corey nodded slowly, absorbing every word. Then he asked something that made Bennett's heart stop. "Are you going to leave us when Mom gets better?" Bennett froze. He didn't know the answer. A part of him didn't want to let the boys go. Another part told him he had no right to keep them. He placed a hand on Corey's shoulder. "Let's focus on helping your mom get strong," he said gently. "We'll figure the rest out later." But destiny had its own plans. 2 months later, Lena was healthy enough to leave the hospital. She was stronger, happier, and full of life again. The twins couldn't stop hugging her. "We're going home," Caleb shouted. "Home!" But when they arrived at their old apartment to collect their things, they found a notice on the door: eviction. They had no home left. Lena felt her knees weaken. "What am I going to do?" she whispered. "Where will we go?" Before she could speak again, Bennett said quietly, "You can stay with us." Lena's eyes widened. "I can't accept that. You've helped us enough." But the twins grabbed her hands. "Mom, please," Corey said. "We love it there. We feel safe." Caleb nodded. "Please, Mom. Please say yes." Lena looked at their hopeful faces, then at Bennett's steady eyes. Slowly, she nodded. "Okay, just until I get back on my feet." But something strange happened during those weeks back at the mansion. The house didn't feel like Bennett's anymore. It felt like theirs. Lena filled the kitchen with warm smells of homemade soup. The twins filled the halls with laughter. Bennett found himself smiling more, working less, caring more. Lena noticed the change. One night, she said softly, "You're a good man, Bennett." He shook his head. "No, I'm a man who failed too many times." She touched his arm gently. "Maybe you just needed someone to remind you how to feel again." Then, one sunny afternoon, the twins returned from school carrying a surprise. "We made family drawings," Caleb explained. Corey held up a picture. It showed a smiling woman, 2 twins, a big mansion, and a tall man standing beside them. "That's you," Corey said. Bennett stared at the drawing. His eyes burned. Something inside him broke open, a door he thought was locked forever. "Do you boys think of me like family?" he asked. They answered at the same time. "Yes." That night, Bennett made a decision that would change all of their lives. He gathered Lena and the boys in the living room and knelt in front of the twins. "Corey, Caleb, would you like to stay here forever?" The boys gasped. "Do you mean?" "Yes," Bennett said with tears in his eyes. "I want to adopt you. Only if you want it." The twins launched into his arms, crying and laughing at the same time. "Yes, yes." Yes, they shouted. Lena covered her mouth, crying softly. They already love you, she whispered. And you already love them. Months later, the papers were finalized. Corey and Caleb Hale became the sons of the man who once felt he had no heart left. The toy car that started everything sat in a glass case at the center of their home, not as a reminder of sorrow, but as a symbol of hope. On the anniversary of their adoption, Bennett said softly as he looked at his family, "Everything changed the day I saw two brave boys trying to save their mom. And everything changed forever." And so ends the story of millionaire CEO sees black twin sell toy car to save their mom. Everything changes forever.